Mike McCool here in the Royal Examiner studio, and with me today is our new Councilman, Glenn Wood. The election's over, Glenn, and you're catching your breath. So I just thought we'd come in and talk a little bit about campaigning, things that you look forward to do, directions we're going, and just kind of a feel-good, glad things are over
Absolutely.
time. So what was your overall thought here of this last 3 months?
Well, it's been a lot of work, but it's been very rewarding, Mike, being able to go out and meet so many people in the community. I knocked on somewhere north of 2,000 doors. I probably got in front of people maybe a fourth, a third of the time.
Sure.
Very interesting to hear from the citizens what their concerns are, what their thoughts are about our town, the direction that it's going in. And then, likewise, being at the polls every day. Early voting this year was like 45 days.
Right, we had an election season.
And my wife, my life partner there, she was a trooper. She was there every day other than 3 days she had COVID. And, that really helped us because everyone voting early, you get to talk to them pretty much one-on-one. It's not this huge crowd of people surging in like it is on election day.
Right.
It's a lot of work. It can be very rewarding when you win. It can be disappointing, obviously, if you lose. But I found it to be a very interesting process. I'm glad to see that our hard work paid off.
Right. Well, you've been on the Planning Commission now for on and off for a long time.
Right.
I think that gives you some insight in the direction of, you've seen the council at work or not working, or probably both sides. It give you some insight. So you're going to stay on the...
My goal is to stay on the Planning Commission for a year. That has to be agreed upon, my understanding, by council. Virginia Code does allow one person to serve on both the Planning Commission and the council. Subject to council approval in January. We have so many new commissioners, and I just feel like we need the bench strength by me staying on there at least a year. We have 2 commissioners that haven't been on there but a year. And I look forward. We got a lot of interesting things going on in planning and zoning that I think is going to help us ultimately and help the council and the town move forward. Especially with some unique opportunities for housing, communities. Development isn't going to stop. We're going to continue to grow. That creates the challenges and the opportunity also for our council.
Well, it is interesting. I served on the Planning Commission as well. And it kind of opens your eyes to see what's going on. And, some things happen, some things don't happen because of just quirks in the system, and people get involved into a project and they find out there's a lot more involved in what they think, and it always takes longer to do something.
It does. I told one applicant, I believe it was the folks up there with the mural on the building, I said the wheels of government grinds along slowly. Yeah. There is a process. Many times businesses will come in to planning and zoning. They're not totally sure what they want to do. They give us an idea, and then based on that idea, well, this is, the appropriate zoning or special use permit or whatever. And then sometimes things change along the way, and then that may change direction. We're going to see a rezoning next month come up that happened. A very nice development within our town, but the scope of the business plan changed, and therefore the zoning changed. And I think we'll make quick work of it, and the council certainly will enjoy moving that project along.
Right, I can remember. I mean, we're working on a project here that we started 30 years ago. But, for the last 6 months we've been working on it. Then we had to get a survey. Then we had to get a flood thing. Then we had to, meanwhile, I've changed the plans 3 or 4 times because things have evolved as we go along.
Right.
But it'll eventually come around. It's been 30 years. Another month or 2 won't make any difference,
There you go.
But I can remember talking to one of the developers here. The town had drug him out on a big project, And he said, at first he said I was mad, but he said a year later, he said, I made an extra $1 million. The value of everything went up. So he said, I'm not so mad anymore. So sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's not so good, but
Right.
it does happen. And I think you just have, as you go in business, you just learn that you just have to go with the flow, so to speak, and do it. It's kind of like what you're doing looking forward. So where do you see yourself on the council here in the next, now this is only a 1-year term, isn't it?
That's correct. I'm fulfilling a term, one of the 2 terms that was created by openings last year. There was a council person that resigned, and then a mayor was elected from the council.
Right.
So at the time, Councilwoman DeMonica Payne and Councilman Rogers were appointed to those 2 positions until the special election. So because it is fulfilling a term, I will be seated this coming Monday.
Right.
And Councilman Rogers, I just want to give a shout out to him. Thank you, Skip, for your service over the past year. A lot of work goes into this. I'm not naive in thinking that. I also appreciate Commissioner Marshner putting herself out. Not only is she a good planning commissioner, but very thoughtful in running for town council. Unfortunately, there can only be 2 winners. I do look forward to working with Councilwoman DeMonica Payne, and I'm excited about the rest of the council. Many of them have already reached out to me. I've spoken with the mayor. I've spent time with our town manager. I've got an appointment with our town attorney. My hopes is to hit the ground running. Again, because of the Planning Commission, I'm up to speed on many things other than the things that go on behind the curtain.
Right.
And that's
There's a lot of that.
There is a lot of that in government, and there's a reason for that. And I believe in full transparency. Of course, you've followed government for many years. There's only certain things they can talk about behind closed doors and closed session, and there's a reason for that, to protect the town in property purchases and legal aspects and personnel issues that come up from time to time. But I'm looking forward to having full disclosure there. In meeting with town manager, I've learned a few of the things. I'm looking forward to Mr. Sonic, our town attorney, spending time with him and getting up to speed. I was very glad to see the non-suit come up. I think there's an opportunity with 2 new Board of Supervisor members, DeMonica Payne and myself coming on to the council. I'd really like to see us work with our county partners. I think there's a tremendous opportunity. And we all have to remember that even those of us in the town
Right.
are also county citizens, and it only behooves us to work together.
Right. Should be a win-win. I mean, what's good for one has got to be good for the other.
I think that it is, and I think the general consensus in talking to some of our Board of Supervisor members that are seated presently, I think it's their desire to. And, the county relies on the town for water and sewer. We rely on the county, because they have the most land mass and the opportunity to bring more jobs in the community, more retail. The town is somewhat limited in what we can do. So it's got to be a joint effort.
Yeah.
But with that certainly is going to bring some challenges as well.
Yeah. We just have to go into it wanting to make it a win-win instead of always thinking someone's going to get the upper hand,
Exactly.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
really, like I say, I think it's as long as we have the right attitude about it, that most things will go along. And a lot of people see some turmoil in the county, but the other 99% of things go along every day just fine. And we don't, we're thinking, we can't get along with the county, but really, we're really getting along with the county pretty good. Maybe 1 or 2 things that there's always a sticking point on, but
Absolutely.
it's not as bad as we put on. We see.
It's not as bad as a lot of people make it out to be. Some people probably enjoy controversy.
Sure.
It does nothing to help our community, and the less of that we can have, the better, and the more commitment to working together and creating, as you said, the win-win scenario.
Sure.
I'm all about that.
Right, they're working together on this project with the St. Myers Youth Center or Student Union or whatever they're going to call it. But
At the end of the day, yes. I hope it retains at least the St. Myers name in it because of the contribution Raymond and Ruth made to that and to our community in my generation.
sure,
Now, what it ends up being at the end, as long as St. Myers is represented in the name,
yeah.
I
I don't think anyone has an issue on that. They just-
I don't believe so either.
Yeah.
What is name? What is the branding?
Sure.
You're in the business. You know more about that than I do.
Yeah.
But
They're trying to make it appealing. They don't want a name to, the youth centers, right? Remember, anybody watch Benny,
Right.
my cousin Benny, the youths.
Youth.
But right, it's things have changed and things have to be adapted to
Right.
just the culture that we have today. But I think people are looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
And we have a good organization that wants to kind of steamroll that thing through. They're reaching out now, and Sam Barber and all her crew, they do a great job. They're very active
Very
with
excited.
youth in our community. And so I think both sides seem to, hey, let's light a fire under it. And of course, we're
Here's
seeing
a-
things drag on, but
Government sometimes.
it'll
but
work.
Yeah, it will, and we're all very excited about having that opportunity for our community youth,
Yeah.
and giving them an opportunity. It's different from when I grew up here, and we had places to go and hang out and
Sure,
be together.
sure.
And with COVID and the devastating effect that's had on our youth and their education, and even their socialization skills, learning to be in a room with other people, get along, and that human contact again.
Yeah.
I really look forward to them launching this project as soon as possible.
We don't realize how much we learn just by hanging around,
There's a lot to be learned.
Well,
That's why we have two of these and one of
those,
these.
that's right, and two of these.
And two of those.
Well,
So,
Glenn, I think it's great. You're on the council now. You have a lot of experience. I think you'll help next year when we start over again. The election campaign starts in January.
right.
So the sooner you get it started and over with, and hopefully you'll continue. I think you'll be an asset to our town. We appreciate that, and especially your wife. She's a hard worker. You couldn't done it without her. I can
I
tell
absolutely
you. We'll
couldn't.
give her all the credit.
She by far put me over the top.
Yeah, and that's true with other candidates too. Their partners have really worked. It's got to be a family. My wife says I can't run for anything, so if she's not on board, you can forget it. Right?
You cannot do this.
You cannot
alone.
do it. Right?
Yeah.
So it's a win. You have to have a community together, and I think people did come together, and a lot of people come out of the woodwork for this last election, and we could see that. And of course, hopefully it'll get better as time goes on. The more people that get involved in our government and elections and boards and commissions, I think they see, the community's better for it.
Absolutely.
And, we've seen a little disappointment this time when we had several candidates that run unopposed, and then people said, "What? You're unopposed?" And they decided to jump in, but then they do it as a write-in. That's
very difficult.
That's very difficult. So hopefully we'll see with the new election cycle starting in January that people will become a little more involved. If you want to run, start early, not late,
Right.
and at least dip your toe in there. And you still got time to change your mind.
Absolutely.
But getting on the ballot is critical in getting elected. So
Absolutely. Well, we worked at a very short, compressed time. The time we decided to put our hat into the ring, and I think we had 2 weeks to get the signatures, and then right into the election cycle and knocking on doors and early voting and getting materials made up and signage and all the things that go into getting your name and recognition out there for the voter.
It takes a while.
It does.
It's a work. But people do really appreciate you. Knocking on doors is what wins campaigns in this community. I can tell you, if you try to do it any other way, it's hard. It's an uphill battle. And people do like people coming and talking to them. Even in today, like you said, you only reached about half or less. A lot of people aren't home. But they still appreciate the fact that they knew you were there.
I left a personal note for everybody that sorry that I missed them and could earn their vote, and contact me if you had any questions. We
Goes a
live
long
in a
way.
society, a lot of people have to work and a lot of people are gone, but they knew I was there.
Right. I always say people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Right.
And I think that goes even in election cycles.
I believe
Again,
that's true.
congratulations or
Thank you.
condolences, whichever way you want to look at it.
We'll
but
see.
We'll see how it goes. But it's a great thing to do. More people should be involved. The more the merrier, I think. And
Absolutely.
we get a lot of dialogue and questions and ideas. It comes from a group, not an individual. So,
Well,
I think it's great.
if I may just take a minute, Mike's already mentioned my wife, Amy. I couldn't have done this without her. Our campaign manager, Tom Eshelman, all the friends, the family members that either put up signs, worked the polls, there was a few that helped me knock on doors to get more coverage.
Sure.
This is not something you can do by yourself. And last, I want to thank the voters in the community for your trust. And I'm very humbled by the opportunity to represent you. I'm very open. I want your input. Please reach out to me. As we get into the cycle, there'll be more information on how you can contact me. And I do represent all citizens of Front Royal. But thank you.
Thanks again, Glenn. Appreciate all
All
your
right.
help. Congratulations.
Thank you.